Hello everyone. Today we'll be going over Reddit threads that have shocking twists. Please consider liking and subscribing, and if you ever want to send your own stories or confessions and would like to see them in a potential future video, please send them to dumbarcusyoutube@gmail.com. But anyway, let's get right into it. Our first story is, 2 tampons may mean my marriage is over. I, 29 female, have been with my husband, 30 male, for 7 years, married for 4. I've never had reason to suspect he was unfaithful to me or even remotely dissatisfied with our marriage. He likes to joke that we're still living the honeymoon phase, nearly 5 years and 2 kids in. I wouldn't have questioned that, or him, were it not for a surprise I found in his car last month. When buckling our daughter into her car seat, I noticed something slotted between the cushions. I pulled it out and saw that it was a tampon. This wouldn't have been so unusual had I not had an IUD that has stopped my period for the past year, and I didn't even recognize the wrapper style. I brought it to my husband's attention, and he didn't seem to understand what it was, let alone why I was holding it, until I told him where I'd found it and why I was almost certain it wasn't mine. He shrugged and said it probably belonged to his coworker Fiona. It's not uncommon for my husband to carpool to lunch with his coworkers, and we're both fairly close to Fiona and her husband, so I figured it was entirely possible the tampon had slipped out of her purse whenever he had driven with them or offered her a ride. No big deal. I put it out of my mind until we had dinner with Fiona and her husband a couple weeks later. I had sincerely wanted to believe my husband. I just couldn't get over the way it had been tucked in the seat and how my husband had seemed not to have any regard for it whatsoever. Maybe playing dumb. I don't know. I did something that I now feel kind of crazy for doing. I faked an emergency and asked Fiona if she had any tampons while we were out together. She handed me one almost identical to the tampon I'd found in our back seat, and I breathed a sigh of relief. So the tampon there was probably the same tampon here, and in all likelihood there was an innocent explanation as to why I had been left in the backseat in the first place. I thought I'd seen the last of the out-of-place feminine hygiene products until I found another tampon this morning, this time in my sock drawer. I feel physically ill at the thought of my husband having an affair, and even more nauseated at the thought that the woman might have left these tampons out for me to find. If it was my husband's coworker, why would she give herself away by offering me one the other night? In any other situation, I would want to talk to my husband about this, but I feel too sick and embarrassed to approach him with what I've found. What should I do? Doesn't seem too insane yet, but before we read the update, let's get into some of the comments. This commenter says, OP, before you confront your husband, get more evidence. I cannot tell you how many times my dad or my brother just chuck my things in a random drawer because they don't know where they belong, but they still want to help. If the 2 previous tampons, Cars and Fiona's, are not 100% accounted for, I would say there is a chance the one you found in your drawer is one of those. However, it is suspicious. If I were you, before planting a camera that would completely break your husband's trust in the case he is not cheating, I would start becoming more unpredictable with my movements. Come back early from work when you can, or go on a girls' night, but come back way earlier than usual. If he is cheating, chances are you will catch him. Another commenter says, has Fiona been over to your house and perhaps had enough time to plant the tampon? If she has had access to your house, with your knowledge, she's the prime suspect. If it's reasonable to assume that she had an opportunity to plant the tampon in your room, I'd just flat out ask her in front of her husband why she's leaving her tampons in your husband's car and why she put one in your sock drawer. Let the shit hit the fan right then and there. The more there's some weird secret you're trying to uncover, the more susceptible you are to whatever plot is happening against you. The OP responds to this comment saying, she's been to our house many times and vice versa. To my knowledge, she wasn't over any time in the past week. So if she planted that second tampon, she had to have found a window of time when I wasn't home. Anytime she and her husband visit, we all stay downstairs, and you'd have to go really out of your way to make it to our bedroom. Around our dogs, over the safety gate, past the other bedrooms. Not saying it's impossible, but definitely tricky to do on a quick bathroom break, I would guess. One last comment, someone says, "How old is your daughter?" I could see a toddler finding something in the car and putting it in the most random place ever. And the OP replies to this saying, 2 and almost 4. Both have a mischievous streak, so I don't want to rule out the possibility of one of them moving stuff around, but I can't imagine how they'd get their hands on one, possibly 2 random tampons that I've never bought. And the next time we get to hear from OP is 18 days later, almost 3 weeks after their first post. They start off by saying, "Contemplating every possible source of 2 tampons has been my personal hell for the past few weeks, but I wanted to share an update." Shortly after posting on here, I told my sister what happened. The tampon in the backseat in the sock drawer, my husband's cluelessness, the tampon from Fiona, and all the things I suspected but didn't want to believe. We compared tampons, save for the backseat one I had already discarded, and they were a match, just in different absorbencies. I hadn't left either in a place where my husband or daughters would have found them and moved them around. My daughters didn't know what they were or where they had come from. My daughter was convinced it was Fiona, either effing my husband, effing with me, or both. Direct confrontation of either party still seemed like a bad idea, so she suggested inviting Fiona and her husband over for our Labor Day barbecue. Unfortunately, they already had plans. My sister and I agreed that it was too soon for cameras without any other evidence, so it was just a waiting game from there. Watching my husband for any changed behavior, there was none. Our house for any misplaced/foreign items, there were none, and even the girls for any new friends they might have met. My sister's husband was adamant on this last point, and partly why he was inclined to believe that the tampons were harmless. If anything had been happening in or around our home, he said, it would be nearly impossible to keep it from me and the girls. Since my husband was the one taking them to and from daycare and most other activities during the week, I felt a good bit of consolation in that. It wasn't until my younger daughter, 2 years old, came down with something last week that I felt any differently. I wanted to be the one home taking care of her, but my husband insisted that I stay at work while he stayed home with her. I was okay with that. My sister and her husband figured it was a good sign that he would take time off at a moment's notice, and at that point, we were already beginning to put the tampon fiasco behind us. By the 3rd or 4th day, I was just happy to see a near-healthy child and a husband who was helping her see through it. Toward the end of that week, though, I came home to something strange. The toddler that I'd left that morning in an old PJ set was now dressed in a onesie I'd never seen before, with a tiny clip in her hair. I can't say I have the sharpest memory, but I have a pretty good sense of what my kids wear on a day-to-day basis, and particularly what kind of clothes they wear. I'd sworn off the full-length sleep suits with snaps across the front long before we ever had our second. The long snaps are just a pain in the ass and a no-go for efficient diaper changes, in my opinion. It's just not something I would dress her in, and my husband knows as such. He doesn't plan for or buy the girls' clothes, and he certainly doesn't accessorize them, so I was bewildered and kind of floored at the thought of someone around our sick child without my knowledge. I didn't think twice, and I went straight to my husband to ask if anyone had been over to see him or the girls. He seemed confused, like before, and asked me why I would think that. It had just been him and the kids all day. I asked him again if someone had so much stopped by to say hello, and he denied it. He told me to calm down. I might have lashed out and come forward with the accusations right then and there, but our older daughter was in the room, and she sensed something was up. In a calmer voice, I asked him a 3rd time if anyone had been around our children, and my husband swore that the girls hadn't been around anyone but him. He also denied buying new clothes or doing anyone's hair. With our daughter in the room and my emotions all over the place, I decided to leave it. I couldn't make sense of it then, and it hardly seems clearer now, after I've driven myself hair crazy with explanations that aren't adding up. The OP then goes to the comments to clear a couple things up. She says, "To answer a couple questions, My 2-year-old can only string together a couple words at a time. And when I ask her about her time with daddy or her clothes/bow, she answers based on cues I give her. Like, who gave you that pretty bow? And she repeats pretty bow back to me, or mama/daddy, over and over. My older daughter, almost 4, was at daycare that morning, so she can't recall anything different from that day. Doesn't remember the PJ change or the hair clip. So my guess is she was changed sometime that morning, but I'm not totally sure. I have a 45-minute commute to work, so stopping by for lunch isn't really feasible. My sister has been kind enough to leave work and drive past a few times here and there, and she hasn't seen anything out of the ordinary. We have a Ring camera at the front door, and I've got the app on my phone with notifications on. Nothing there yet. If anyone has recommendations for more discreet surveillance, I'd be open to it. I'm just the least tech-savvy person and worry another camera will be easy to detect, lol. Edit, and yes, we got our carbon monoxide detectors tested regularly. And we get the final update 16 days later after the update post, meaning 34 days since the original one, which is a month and then some time. OP says, after nearly losing my mind over a hair clip in a onesie, I realized I wasn't getting anywhere with the accusations and half-baked guesswork. I'd gotten so absorbed in the paranoia and misery of my situation that I wasn't sleeping, eating, or caring for my kids the way I should have been, and I wasn't getting any answers. So I decided to pull the trigger on the hidden cameras and have them shipped over to my sister's house, with my brother-in-law agreeing to help with the install/setup over at mine. Before the cameras were ever delivered though, I got my long-awaited confirmation last week. A Ring notification had alerted me to motion at the front door while I was at work. Half expecting to see a delivery person, pet, or lawn care salesman for the 15th time, you can imagine my surprise when I saw a clip of a young woman leading my daughter into the house hand in hand, with my husband and other daughter close behind them. The girls were supposed to be in daycare and my husband at work. The woman, as far as I knew, was living 2 states away with a court order keeping her there. I immediately called my husband to ask him what the F this woman was doing in our house. He didn't answer, so I texted it to him. Even in his stupidity, he probably realized he had messed up by going through the front door. Knew I had gotten the Ring notification and wanted to delay the inevitable. By the 5th or 6th subsequent call though, he did pick up. The woman on the camera was my husband's sister. As I would come to find out later, she was the likely source of both the tampons, the onesie, and the bow. She is also a registered blank and a recovering addict who spent the better part of her adolescence and young adulthood coercing the silence of another one of my husband's family members after she had blanked them. I hadn't seen or heard from her from years, and from the way my husband talked about her, I didn't expect I ever would, but here she was in our house with our children. Suffice to say, I was livid. It wasn't an affair at all, and still, somehow, infinitely more disgusting knowing who it was and why all of this had been happening. Apparently, my sister-in-law, fresh off another stint in rehab, had wanted to reconnect and make amends with people she'd hurt, and my husband was high on that list. My husband didn't want me to know, or worse, try and keep her family, our children, away from her, so they'd been meeting in secret, often at our house when I was at work. They would enter through the garage in my husband's car, so the Ring camera at the front door wouldn't tip me off. She spent the night on a weekend I'd been on a business trip and slept in our bed. She babysat our girls on a night my husband told me he had dropped them off at his parents'. She bought the girls clothes and dressed my youngest in the onesie and bow that my husband had promised on his life I had dressed her in myself. My husband swore this was all in my head. The tampons, the onesie, the bow, and all the rest. He was perfectly content to watch me agonize for weeks over a woman he insisted didn't exist, shrugging off each progressively more unsettling discovery like it was news to him and telling me I was being irrational. He insinuated that I was experiencing postpartum depression, 2 years after I'd given birth. 4 years after I told him that one of my biggest fears for motherhood was to suffer postpartum depression like my mother had with me. To not be fully present for our babies and be left with a world of guilt and regret as they grew older. He told me I wasn't sleeping enough and that I missed the girls too much, that I needed to take a step back and reevaluate the state of my mental health. I gave him the benefit of the doubt because he was my husband, and because no other version of events made sense. Now, after a month of this, blank, I have nothing to show for my trust but this pathetic situation and a lot of anger. And then our next story is, am I the asshole for not wanting to share my inheritance with my sister? So I, 28 male, recently lost my father. It was a really tough time, but we knew it was coming because he had been sick for a while. Before he passed, he made it clear in his will that I would inherit the majority of his estate, including his house and a significant amount of money. My sister, 25 female, would receive a smaller amount, mostly sentimental items, and a bit of cash. Here's the thing. My sister and my dad didn't have a good relationship. She moved out when she was 18, and they barely spoke after that. My dad tried to reconnect several times, but she always shut him down. I, on the other hand, took care of him during his illness, visiting almost every day and handling all his medical appointments. Now, my sister is furious. She's calling me selfish and saying that it's unfair that she got so little. She thinks I should split the inheritance 50-50. I told her I respected Dad's wishes and that I don't think it's my responsibility to change what he wanted, especially given the circumstances. She argues that family is family, and it's not fair to punish her for their estranged relationship, but I think it's not my fault they didn't get along. She had years to fix things with him, but she chose not to. My mom, they're divorced, is on her side, saying that I should do the right thing and give her more money to keep the peace. Some friends agree with her, while others think I'm justified in keeping what I was given. So, am I the asshole for not wanting to share my inheritance with my sister? The OP then proceeds to edit the original post, as well as add a Q&A section to answer a lot of the commonly asked questions. Edit. I've seen some comments saying this sounds fake, or that I'm leaving out key details, so let me clarify a few things. First, about my sister's estrangement, it wasn't something that happened overnight. After my parents' divorce, she sided heavily with my mom and gradually distanced herself from our dad. She blamed him for the split, and even though Dad tried to reconcile over the years, she was unwilling to meet him halfway. I'm not saying she's a bad person. Divorces are messy, but it's not like Dad cut her off for no reason. Second, I know some of you might think Dad was playing favorites, but I don't see it that way. I think he divided things based on who was there for him in his final years. It wasn't about punishment, it was about recognition. Lastly, for those saying I'm conveniently painting myself as the golden child, I promise that's not my intention. My sister had her reasons for stepping back, but I stepped up because I felt it was the right thing to do. That's why this situation is so hard. I'm trying to honor my dad's wishes, but I also don't want to completely ruin my relationship with my sister. Q&A. I've seen a lot of questions, so I'll try to clarify some things to fill in the gaps. Why did my parents get divorced? My parents' divorce happened when I was 12 and my sister was 9. It wasn't one big event. It was a combination of things. My dad worked long hours running his own business, and my mom felt neglected. She also said Dad had a controlling personality, which caused a lot of tension. On the other hand, Dad felt Mom wasn't supportive of his career and resented him for working so much. Eventually, they just couldn't make it work, and they decided to separate. My sister blamed Dad for the divorce because in her eyes, he was the one who chose work over family. Mom didn't exactly help. She would make comments about how Dad cared more about his business than his kids. I think this shaped my sister's perspective and made her more distant from him. Why were my sister and dad so conflicted? After the divorce, I stayed with dad, while my sister lived with mom. Dad tried to stay involved in her life, but the distance, both physical and emotional, made things harder. Over time, my sister started avoiding him. For example, he'd call her, but she wouldn't pick up. He'd send gifts or letters, and she never acknowledged them. One of the big breaking points came when she graduated high school. Dad showed up to her graduation uninvited because he wanted to celebrate her, but she got upset and accused him of trying to make it about himself. After that, they barely spoke. Why didn't my sister visit when Dad was sick? This is something only my sister can fully explain, but I think it goes back to their strained relationship. By the time Dad got sick, they hadn't spoken in years. I reached out to her multiple times, telling her how serious things were, but she said she wasn't ready to see him. Dad was hurt, but never angry. He just said she has to come on her own terms. Unfortunately, she never did. Why didn't Dad just leave everything 50-50? I asked myself this too. I think Dad felt the inheritance should reflect the relationships he had. He knew I had been there for him throughout his illness and wanted to recognize that. At the same time, he didn't want to completely exclude my sister, which is why he left her sentimental items and some money. I don't think it was about punishing her. I think he just wanted to acknowledge the reality of our family dynamic. Hope this clears up some of the questions people have been asking. Let me know if there's anything else I can explain. And then we get an update from the OP 2 weeks later. He says the following. Thanks for all the responses on my original post. After thinking it through and reading a lot of your comments, I've decided I'm not giving my sister anything beyond what Dad left her. His will was clear, and I'm not going to disrespect his wishes to appease anyone who didn't even bother to visit him when he was dying. I tried to be reasonable and explain my side, but it's pointless. My sister is still sending me nasty texts, calling me names, and acting like I stole from her. My mom is no better. She's basically turned into this full-on guilt trip, saying things like, "You're tearing this family apart, and you're just like your father." Honestly, if being just like Dad means standing my ground, I'll take it as a compliment. At this point, I'm done trying to keep the peace. They can say whatever they want about me. I'm not changing my mind. I'm going to do what I want with the inheritance and move on with my life. If that means cutting some people off, so be it. To everyone who said I'm not the a-hole, thank you. It feels good to have some validation. For now, I'm focusing on honoring Dad's memory and making the most of what he left me. We'll see where this goes next, but I'm not backing down. We then get an update 5 months later from the first update, which is 6 from the original post. The OP goes on to say, "It's been a while since my last update, but things have gone completely off the rails since then, and I need to get this off my chest. So, 6 months after my dad passed and the inheritance was finalized, my sister completely lost it. I thought things were rough before, but this took it to a whole new level. First, she tried to sue me. She claimed I manipulated Dad into changing the will and accused me of undue influence, saying I isolated her from him when he was sick and pressured him while he was medicated. It was full of lies and reached so far I don't even know how she said it with a straight face. She even had 2 of her friends sign statements saying they felt something was off, even though neither of them were ever around our family. Her case got tossed. Quickly. Judge dismissed it with prejudice, so she can't try again. I thought that would be the end of it. Nope. She started harassing me. Constant texts, emails, calls from private numbers. She made burner accounts on social media and commented on anything I posted. Signed me up for mailing lists. Then I walked outside one day and someone had spray painted "thief" across my garage. I have cameras now, and yeah, it was her. Clear as day. Had to file a police report, and that's still in progress. Then she showed up at the house while I was gone for the weekend. Broke in through a back window. She wrecked the place, ripped pictures off the walls, poured something on the couch, smelled like bleach, broke furniture, went through drawers, dumped boxes of my dad's stuff on the floor, left a note on the bathroom mirror that just said, "You don't deserve this." I reported the break-in. There's now a criminal case open against her. It gets worse. Right after that, she started telling extended family and mutual friends that I had blanked her when we were younger. That's where I draw the line. It's not just petty inheritance drama anymore. She crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. I've never done anything like that, obviously, and hearing that kind of accusation come from your own sibling is something I don't think I'll ever fully process. I have nothing to hide, and I've already spoken to a lawyer. If she says it publicly again, I'm filing a defamation suit. My mom is still trying to play both sides. She says things like, "Your sister is just grieving in her own way," as if that justifies any of this. It doesn't. We're done. I've cut contact with both of them. If there's a takeaway here, it's that people can spiral in ways you never expect when money and guilt get mixed together. I keep thinking, surely this is the last straw, but it just kept going. I'm tired, I'm angry, and I'm done. I'll keep the house, I'll keep what Dad left me, and I'll keep my distance. And then the OP's last update doesn't come until almost a whole year later, and he says the following. Since a lot of people are asking about the criminal case, I'll answer what I can. I can't get into every detail because some of it is still subject to court records, and I don't really want to turn this into a play-by-play of the legal process. That said, the charges stemmed from the break-in and damage to the house. The camera footage ended up being a huge factor. It clearly showed my sister entering the property while I was away and remaining inside for a significant amount of time. Combined with the condition of the house afterward, the damaged property, and some other evidence collected during the investigation, law enforcement felt there was enough to move forward. The charges included unlawful entry, criminal mischief and property damage, and a few related offenses. Again, I'm intentionally being somewhat vague because I don't want to post documents online, but it wasn't a situation where she was arrested because of an argument over inheritance. It was specifically tied to actions she took after the inheritance dispute. A lot of people have asked whether she served jail time. The answer is no. She ultimately accepted a plea agreement. From my understanding, that involved probation, restitution related to some of the damage, and conditions restricting contact. Some people will probably think that's too lenient, and others will think it's too harsh. But at that point, I wasn't interested in revenge. I just wanted the behavior to stop. The blank allegations were never part of the criminal case. Those accusations were never substantiated and never resulted in charges against anyone. My attorney's advice was to document everything, avoid public arguments, and address any false statements through the proper legal channels if necessary. I know some were expecting a dramatic courtroom showdown, but real life is usually less exciting than Reddit wants it to be. Most legal disputes end with paperwork, negotiations, and people getting tired of paying lawyers. The biggest thing the criminal case accomplished was creating consequences and boundaries. For the first time since all of this started, there were actual restrictions in place. Whether people agree with the outcome or not, things became significantly quieter afterward, which was ultimately what I wanted. Our next story is, my 28 male girlfriend, 25 female, didn't tell me that she had kids, and I'm really angry about it. I am 28 male, and my girlfriend Kat is 25 female, and we've been together for a little over 2 years. Our relationship has been pretty awesome. She really lights up my life, and I adore her. Yesterday, I was helping Kat move to her new house. Everything was normal until the bottom of the box that I was carrying up to her room fell through and it all ended up on the floor. Everything that was in the box was okay, except this wooden/wicker box that split a little bit around the hinges for the lid. Because of the way that the little box split, a photo had slid out. I opened the lid so that I could put the photo back in. I wasn't trying to snoop at all, but I decided to look at some of the photos. It was a lot of family and pets, and friends from different places and life stages, a memories type of thing. Then I came across a few photos of Kat in a hospital bed holding 2 newborn babies, followed by more pictures of the babies. I kind of froze and my stomach twisted. Kat walked into the room and saw me sitting on the floor with the baby pictures, and she looked horrified. We didn't say anything for a few moments, and then she just sat on the floor in front of me and asked if I had any questions about what I had just found. I asked her if these are her babies, and she started crying while nodding yes. I felt myself get angry, and I asked her why she would hide them from me. We've been together for over 2 years, and we were starting to plan our future. I told her that I don't want to have to be a stepdad, and she had told me that she didn't want to have children. At this point, I was yelling. I've never yelled at her before, and she was just crying, not saying anything until she blurted out, "They're dead." I didn't have anything to say, and I couldn't stand to look at her, so I left. I decided to call my parents, and I told them everything that I put in this post. My dad says that I need to talk to her and that I was rude and unempathetic in the way that I handled things, and my mom totally reamed me out for walking out on a good woman who has clearly gone through something traumatic enough that she never wanted to talk about it because I couldn't handle myself for 10 minutes to let her explain. My best friend thinks that I'm justified though. She's been trying to call me and sending me texts asking to meet with her so that she can explain everything, but I just feel betrayed and confused. I don't know where to go from here. And now let's see how some people reacted to that crazy post. This commenter says, "The woman that you love and want to spend the rest of your life with lost 2 children, and you made it about yourself. That's a new level. I can see why you feel like you were blindsided and lied to, and it's a big secret she kept from you. But have you stopped at all to consider that the trauma of losing her babies has been so much that she hadn't wanted to relive their memory to you? That she was scared of this very reaction from you? They died, bro. It's not like they had been hiding in the closet while she waits for you to marry her to yell, 'Surprise, you're a daddy now.' Bit of sympathy and a chance for her to explain is warranted. Don't be a douche." One last commenter says, "WTAF is wrong with you? How could anyone be so cruel, heartless, and self-centered? Her 2 babies are dead. You think maybe she has some trauma over it? You think maybe it's so unbearably painful she can't even give voice to it? You think maybe a normal human being's reaction might be to say, 'OMG, I'm so sorry, your children are dead.' How can I support you? But no, you made it all about you. This is the worst post I've ever read on this site, and that's saying something. Disgusting on every possible level. I really hope she blocks you and never has any contact with you again." So the general consensus of the commenters is that he's in the wrong and he needs to apologize and that he needs to allow her to explain herself, nonetheless the fact that he even deserves to be given an explanation. And then the OP proceeds to post an update only 1 day later after the original post, and he says the following. "I'm not sure how many people will be interested in this update, but I figure I'll put it up. The discovery of the photos and my really shitty reaction all went down on Sunday. Today is Tuesday for anyone who's unclear about the timeline. Long story short, I really effed up. Long story long, on Monday night, shortly after having my ass handed to me by everybody in the comments and DMs, as well as my mom telling me that I'm not the son she raised, I decided to call Kat and asked her if we could talk about everything. She said yes, but that it's an in-person talk, so we made plans for me to go over to hers today, evening. I couldn't focus on anything at work, so I cut my day short and went to her place earlier in the day. It was a difficult conversation. She told me about how she ended up in an abusive relationship when she was just under 18. She talked about how this man had so much control over her that she could hardly even breathe, and the vile things he would say/do to her. Eventually, he got her pregnant by force, and she wanted to, but he basically locked her in the basement until she was too far along to do anything about it. The twins were born, and she knew that she needed to escape with both of them. She played happy family and did her best while she made arrangements and healed physically. Having twins gave her an excuse to have her mom come around to help with everything, including documenting and escaping. Everything was ready to go when the twins were 1 year old and Kat was 20. Basically, he figured it out at the very last second. Her children died at the hands of their father, and he tried to kill her too. She told me about the guilt she felt in so many ways, from wanting to abort them to begin with, having kids with the wrong person, not being able to get them out safely, and why she deserved to live when her babies didn't. She went through a ton of therapy and was eventually able to get to a good place and start living again. Thriving, honestly. She said that she didn't think she could love again, and she fell in love with me unexpectedly, so she never thought about how she would share this part of her past with a new partner. She felt it easier and safer to just never bring it up, but apologized for not telling me sooner. I told her that she has nothing to apologize for, and my initial reaction was unjustified. I should have stayed and talked to her. I shouldn't have raised my voice at her. Everything I did was wrong, and that I am so sorry for not being a better partner and a better man. To address some of the comments in my OPs, I never asked her if she had kids. I only asked if she wanted kids, to which she said no. She never lied, she just left out the horrible passing of her children, which I now understand. Thank you to everybody who was, rightfully, brutal and honest. I'm not sure where our relationship will go from here. I'll update in the future if there's any interest there. He then gives us another update 2 days later, which is 3 days from the original post, and he says the following. A few years before I met my girlfriend, she had twins who passed away when they were a year old. I only found out because I came across some baby pictures when I was helping her move. I don't think she was ever planning on telling me about them. At first I was angry, and I lashed out at her instead of just giving her the opportunity to explain. I made the mistake of making this a me issue, and now there might not be any going back to what we had. I still feel confused. Everything that she's told me about her past has been true. She just decided to leave out the parts where she had kids and they died. I get that's probably the worst thing that a person can go through, especially with how it happened, but how do you get 2+ years into dating someone before ever telling them? She's told me that she needs some time and space to figure out where she wants to go from here, because she didn't like how I reacted to the news and she sees me differently now. I messed up, and now I might lose the most incredible woman I've ever known. I'm terrified, and I just want to go to her and hold her and beg her for her forgiveness, but I know I will only make her feel smothered. I wish I could go back. I wish I never knew. And then, after consistently giving updates every day, we don't get our next update until a year and a half later, approximately 17 months later. And OP says the following. To recap, a few years before I met Kat, she had twins who passed away when they were 1. I found out because I came across some old photos. I reacted horribly, and she asked for time and space away from me. For over a month, I waited. I waited for her to speak to me again, hoping she could forgive me and we could move on together. Mid-December, she called me and told me that she wanted to talk. I was ecstatic and raced over to her place, only stopping to get flowers on the way. When I arrived, she let me in, and I saw that she still had not finished unpacking. In fact, it looked like she'd never even started to. She noticed me looking around and told me that she's moving in with her brother who lives in another province and that she doesn't want to be with me anymore. I begged and pleaded and told her that she meant everything to me and I would do anything to make things right, but she stayed quiet, only shaking her head before saying that she doesn't feel emotionally safe with me anymore. She told me that if I had reacted differently when I found out about her lost twins, then she would have been able to move past this with me, but my reaction told her everything she needed to know. You made my traumas about you and your backwards feelings and reacted explosively over something that has nothing to do with you. How could I ever trust you to work through anything difficult? Then she asked me to leave. I put my flowers on the counter and left. A week later, she texted me to tell me she had a box of my things and I needed to come get them. When I arrived, the door was unlocked and I walked inside. The house was completely empty aside from a box with some of my clothes, pictures, trinkets and gifts, memories of us, and the flowers I brought her, wilted and dead with a note that read, "Lock the door when you leave." Fast forward a few days, it's Christmas Eve, and I went over to my parents' place. We had a quiet evening, and as per tradition, my siblings and I stayed the night. On Christmas morning, I texted Kat to wish her a Merry Christmas, but the bubble turned green. I was blocked. Later that evening, my mother left the room and called Kat to wish her a Merry Christmas. She adores her. I did tell my parents that we were broken up and she moved away, but I never actually told them any real details of the entire event. My mother came back in tears, seething with rage, and screamed at me to get the F out of her house. Kat told her everything, in excruciating detail. I was effectively disowned by my family, with the exception of one brother. My life was falling apart faster than I could gather the pieces, and I slipped into a deep depression. For months running on autopilot. I drank too much and smoked too much and let myself go. After a string of bad decisions, my brother, who kept contact, convinced me to go to therapy. It was hard, but it helped a lot, and I soon started picking myself back up. A couple months ago, I was scrolling socials and saw a post featuring Kat from a mutual of ours. They were on a group vacation, and Kat had a new boyfriend. I decided to send our mutual, Anna, a DM asking about Kat, and I was met with a surprisingly friendly response of mild and vague info. She's doing well and thriving in BC. We continued to chat for a few days before we decided to meet for coffee. Anna and I have been seeing each other since and recently made things official. I love her more than life itself, and I plan on marrying her one day, but my heart still aches for how I hurt Kat. Edit. Few things have come up. 1. Anna does not know. The story Kat gave her was that she fell out of love with me, so she ended it, and I never corrected her. I assume it's because she didn't want to tell people her story. 2. I told my parents that she had kids that passed away, how I found out by accident, and what my reaction was. I never gave them all the details that came from my second conversation with Kat. 3. As for being in love with Anna after only some months, when you know, you know. I did love Kat. I loved her very much, but not how I love Anna. Our next story is, my 15-year-old idiot kid got his girlfriend pregnant on purpose. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I, 30 female, have a child who is 15 male. We'll call him Ollie, plus other children aged 2, 6, 9, and 11. As you can tell by my own age, I was a teen parent. I was lucky and we married at 18. Still married, healthy relationship, worked our way out of a very dire situation, graduated, started a trade, etc., and we are comfortable, stable in all ways. This information is relevant. Ollie has been friends with this girl, we'll call her Bree, since he was 7 years old. Their family used to live in the same city as us and went to the same school, same friendship group. We know her parents and are long-distance friends ourselves. Not close friends, but say hello when the kids are in a video chat, and we've had drinks together before. Bree's family moved to a very small town 3 states away due to rental affordability. No secret, we all have talked about the rising costs of everyday life. The cost of living in the city has risen, forcing many locals out. They moved because of that and for better job opportunities 18 months ago. Since then, Ollie has been begging for us to follow, giving us a sales pitch on cheaper housing, better paying jobs, none of which fit either of our professions, the whole works. We have said no because, well, no, but even if we wanted to, our other children are in school, sports, and have friends here. Selling and buying another house, finding work outside of our skill set, or having to learn new skills, any normal adult would understand this. He does not. Well, fast forward to Christmas, Bree's family come back to our city for a holiday, and the kids met up multiple times with each other. It was my understanding that they were always with the other kids, but obviously not, since Bree is pregnant, and I am certain it was on purpose. He has access to blank. I don't care for opinions on that. My access was restricted, and I had him. He has had education from me, my husband, and school. He knows damn well how babies are made and how not to have one. Ollie now wants me to move to be with her and the baby. It's confirmed. I've talked to her parents. And I said no. I don't feel I need a reason, but he asked. You're 15. We don't have any proof it's your child yet. I'm not moving us away from our lives, and you aren't going alone until you're 18. We will do a DNA test, then we will look at parenting plans, and I topped it off with a too bad, too sad. You made your bed, now you have to sleep in it. He took that back to Bree, and now all communication between me and her parents have been cut. I'm a terrible person. My comments about the DNA test are disgusting, and it's fueling my son's hate for me. He says I am keeping him from the love of his life and future baby, using my own successful relationship as proof it will work out. I actually don't even know if I am right or not. I'm just really upset and feel like my life I worked really hard for has been destroyed. She is due September around the 22nd, so no, there is no option for blank. I don't think that or adoption ever was. Ollie admitted it was on purpose last night. Apparently, it was Bree's idea first, as a joke, that turned into a plan together. Bree's parents will only pass messages through my son, and I have heard this for myself. I stood outside the door, and I listened to them tell him, tell your mother, insert info below, because I know I will just go off on her about that BS still. They are talking bad about me with my kid. They are appalled I would think that way of Bree when I have known her for more than half of her life and do not wish to talk to me. I will not allow him to move out there alone. There are some past issues such as Bree breaking up with him twice in the last 18 months because she found someone that she liked in her new town around August and October last year, same boy, and when it ended, she came back to Ollie. Bree is a nice girl, but her behavior is toxic and has been since she was a child. Her mother and stepfather are nice, but the relationship is unstable. The house is chaotic, 9 children combined, blended family, and 2/3 teens with serious mental health struggles. He would be leaving stability for chaos and no structure. I want a DNA test. I will not budge on that. I am close to cutting his contact totally at this point because they are only empowering him and reinforcing his behavior towards me and his father. His father is a man of few words, which is unhelpful. So far, he's backed everything I have said and only really chosen to say, you have the intelligence of a pear. Update number 2, May 30th. Things have gone south even further. At this point, husband and I have been blocked on all social media and numbers blocked out, but the communication with Ollie has continued. Ollie gave us Breeze's parents' email address to send an email to, but before using that, I asked him to video chat Bree with me there, so then I could ask Bree to please get her parents so I could talk to them about this and tell her that if they were going to continue to refuse, then I would be blocking all contact to Ollie and communication until this is resolved. I told Ollie this before the call. At first he flipped out about it, but it was this or I cut communication completely. I do think he understood that it is not okay that her parents are speaking to me through minors, and he said himself that he would like us to talk to each other. Bree joined the call and hung up when she saw I too was there. Ollie called back a few times, and she didn't answer. She asked via text why I wanted to talk to her, and Ollie told her that I wanted to speak to her mother, and if we didn't resolve the communication issue, then all contact would be ended until her parents made contact with us, and we make a plan for the next few months, including DNA, and then birth arrangements. Said that if the baby is his, we will travel there for the birth and first few weeks after. He told her that I personally think it probably is his baby, but I want to be sure and make sure everything is done right from the start. Well, Bree blocked him with a reply, and he is totally heartbroken and not eating, sitting in his room all day and night, not mad at me surprisingly, very, very sorry for him and to us, sad about it all, and I think regretful. He even asked me if there was a way to undo it for himself. I haven't talked about signing over rights, a male blank, his father called it, because I think he's just upset right now. A mutual friend of Bree and Ollie's here in our hometown showed him a few posts she has made in the last 24 hours. Things like, "It's you and me against the world, baby girl," and memes about deadbeat dads. She also announced the pregnancy, which she hadn't done yet, and the post had some single mother facts and quotes. Ollie's friends knew about the situation, and a few were under the impression that he had dumped her and the baby, going by the posts, but when he explained what had happened, they all rallied for him in the comments. I said not to, and now she's blocked them, and we can't see what she has posted. This is just a nightmare. I have had a plan personally, not set, but something I wanted to talk to her parents about, but I don't even want to waste my time at this point. Ollie gave us Bree's parents' email address to send an email to with said plan. Basically, Bree does the DNA blood test. We will pay the full $1,500 for it. If it is his baby, we can book flights and plan to be there for the first month. I'll stay too with Ollie, maybe even the whole family, and then we can also work on a parenting plan and get into some mediation for a judge to sign off on it. Ollie's his father and I split for the first 7 months of his life, so we have done this before and we know the process. But at this point, I think I would just leave it to settle before sending an email. And then we get another update 4 days later from the last update, and they say the following. Ollie's friend was able to see her Instagram through an old account, different email. I don't use Instagram enough to know what that means, but it meant they weren't blocked when they reactivated. They found the pregnancy announcement post, and if you scrolled across it, it showed a digital copy of the scan Bree sent us, a 16-week scan. Apparently, the first scan she had at the OB. That is dated April 4th and clearly says GA 19 plus 3 weeks, making an August due date, I believe, or very early September. This would not line up with the due date given to us, but does line up with when her parents told us she had been pregnant mid-April. They told us we've had the pregnancy confirmed and sent a photo of the printed pic, which the date isn't on there. I actually think it may have been cut off at the top. I haven't told Ollie this yet because I want to be sure. I am very concerned about his mental health at the moment, and I'm taking that into consideration. But unless she gave the wrong period dates and the baby measured only 16 weeks, then it's not possible for it to be our son's. Also added information. Her due date from what we know is September 22nd. She was here from December 20th to January 7th and saw Ollie December 21st and 22nd and January 4th and 5th. Never overnight. I asked Ollie when did this happen, and he said January 4th was the only time, which makes more sense as they were in a public gathering otherwise. They were at a mutual friend's birthday that night, but never stayed overnight. I have had 5 kids, and I know the dates are too close to figure it out that way. Ollie also said that the joke Bree made was just to see if it happens. The pregnancy, because then it's obviously meant to be, and he would be able to move. To me, it sounds like she had the plan a lot longer, but I may be biased here. And then the OP makes another update 12 days later, saying the following. I spoke to Bree's biological father, he lives in this town, who had no idea about any of this. Before you come for me, there was no known DV or anything. I felt I had run out of options at this point, and I just wanted a way to contact them. Bree's mother then made contact, agreed to do a blood test if we paid for it. Ollie and Bree spoke again, and Bree asked to come here for a holiday and have an ultrasound with him to prove dates in person. I agreed to this. but I may not be thinking straight with the stress we have all been under. She says she is 26 weeks. She sent him a photo of her belly, which has grown, and told him there's no other option but for him to be the father, and that the ultrasound had to go by her last period date, and she didn't remember, so she went by her app, and it was the period before. That's why the dates are out on the scan. I asked if she had a physical booklet of pregnancy notes or something, because I know from experience that they have all the confirmed information on them, but she said everything is digital with her doctor, and I don't want to push because it's not my medical info. I'm wondering if I do just fly her out here on my own terms, her mother agreed, and do the blood and ultrasound here to put an end to it all. And then the OP posts another update 10 days later, saying the following. We have all come to a travel arrangement. We paid for Bree to fly out, and her father was paying for the ticket home. Bree was supposed to fly to us this morning and stay for 6 weeks total, flying back home sometime in August. Her father's in charge of that flight. She was staying with us over these next few weeks while we do our annual 4th of July family vacation for a week, and then a couple more weeks back here at home for the ultrasound/blood test. This was decided together, both families, because Bree and Ollie would like to have some kind of positive experience/memories during the pregnancy, and obviously if the baby wasn't his, Bree would be taken to her father's, and we would be finished with it all. But she never turned up for her flight. She texted the night before that the doctor did not recommend. She should not travel as she is at risk of preterm labor due to her age, and her severe morning sickness makes her only be able to tolerate pineapple juice, so she is needing to be hospitalized and maybe even deliver early. This is on top of a group photo that included Bree, obviously pregnant, in a tight tee, hugging the boy she was dating in her new town, his hand on her belly. It was quickly removed from her story when Ollie asked. I think it was intentional to make him jealous. I am done. I do not believe her or her parents. I have contacted a lawyer and a therapist. I will not be updating again until I know the outcome of the DNA test that I assume will not be done until after the baby is born, since I was told today I cannot force her to have while pregnant. If this baby is Ollie's and my grandchild, I am willing to move Bree here and have her live with us. It has no chance and will continue to ruin my son's life from afar. And then the OP posts another update almost 3 weeks later, and they say the following. I didn't plan on updating prior to the DNA test, but I can confidently say we do not need it to know the truth. We will likely still do need one if Bree sticks to her story, only I will go through the courts at this point. We have a family lawyer, and he has advised these updates are fine as long as I do not identify anyone by name, location, etc. I had a lot of helpful messages on here, and I do read them all, even if I don't reply. One was from a radiographer who suggested that I look at the measurements of the baby on the ultrasound if I am able to get scan pictures and then use that to calculate if the baby was 16 weeks on that scan. I have kept that idea in mind if I ever got the chance to see the scan myself. The same Redditor also raised concerns that she has only had this one scan at 16 weeks, and there hasn't been a 20-week scan again 4 weeks later. All OBs would do a scan at 18 through 22 weeks. The one photo we have seen is a photo of a scan, a profile shot of the baby's face at 16 weeks, and there hasn't been another scan since then. We have been playing it safe and being very careful with how we tread around Bree, not wanting to cause any arguments. We have not mentioned this to them yet, and if by chance someone tells them via this post, or they know about this post, we don't care. We have nothing to lose since the baby isn't Ollie's, and this is how I know. Bree and Ollie have many mutual friends, but only one other girl, Hannah, who is still friends with both of them from within the group. Hannah believes Ollie's the father because that's what Bree says, but she had a falling out with Bree this week. It led to her talking to Ollie, and then she sent Ollie a video that Bree sent her after the ultrasound in April. Prior to this, Bree had told her not to show him because he wasn't going to be in the baby's life by choice, and all the things she was posting about deadbeat dads. The video shows multiple measurements being done, and I was able to see clearly that the baby measured 19 weeks and that scan was the 20-week scan. There is no way that is Ollie's baby. She is due August 26th. Ollie knows all of this and is doing okay. Very angry, but he has the support he needs. What happens now, we don't know, but we know the truth. All we can do is speculate as to why my son was the target of this plan. I know we will likely never know the truth. To clear some things up, I will not be taking this up with Bree and her family until after the baby is born. I am not concerned about the DNA test results, but will still do one. In the video, the OB/nurse, whoever it was doing the scan, says, "So your due date is August 26th, which lines up perfect for your last period." So I know that's the due date, and you can clearly see the numbers on screen showing the measurements are 18 through 19 weeks. Ollie cannot be the father. She wasn't even in the state. There is plenty of other detailed clues I have, but will not post. I think the father is the boyfriend in that town, but I don't understand why Ollie was better. Yes, there is more money, but we aren't rich. We just live smart. Thanks for the support. And then the OP gives us another update nearly 2 months later, saying the following. We have a baby. Last update. Baby K was born September 1st, 2025. 8 pounds, 4 ounces. She was induced for being post-due date. Ollie visited a few hours after the birth with me. Her mother and sister were there when we had asked to visit, but were gone when we got there. The whiteboard on the wall that had all the birth details also stated her EDD, August 26th. Ollie didn't say much, but he's very receptive to the fact that the baby is most likely not his and still in therapy. But I think he loves Bree, and I'm not sure how to navigate that. Ollie went down to the cafe to get her something to eat, as her mother had apparently forgotten to bring food. Since it was just us, I took my chance. I asked her about the EDD on the board, nicely. I told her no one is upset with her. I too am wary about the possibility that the home situation is unsafe and she may be trying to escape. I told her Ollie knows already. He has for months. He's not angry, but he is worried, and even knowing she lied, he wanted to come here and be with her and the baby. I told her what I know to be the truth as his mother. There was nothing Bree could do that would keep him angry enough to cut her off. She broke. I think it was the fact she was so tired and had just had a baby, the hormones and probably mental load that would come with their lies. I feel a little bad, but I'm glad I asked. Bree admitted to me she knows it's not possible, and she was very, very sorry. She wanted to move back to our city. She didn't want to live with her mother and stepfather anymore. In fact, she never wanted to leave, and her dad had said no, she couldn't live with him. The pregnancy never planned originally, but she had came up with the idea herself when she found out they were coming back for the holidays. I asked who the baby's father was, and she never got to give me an answer, but I think it's the boy from her town. I had asked that directly, and she shrugged, but no confirmation as Ollie came back and she shut down again. I told Ollie that Bree has made a mistake and that she was sorry, and Ollie said he knew, and it was okay, that the baby was cute regardless, which I laughed at the ridiculousness that is my life. What a childish thing to say. I didn't ask her about her mother knowing or anything. I was cautious not to set her usual defensiveness off. We left not long after, and Ollie and Bree are still talking via text. Ollie right now has asked me not to ask for the DNA, as Bree is struggling with her own mental health like most of us do with that hormone shift. That's all I have to update on. And after several updates spanning across a lot of time, we get our final update from the OP, and they say the following. September 19th, Ollie did a DNA test. Bree and Baby didn't do their test until last week. There were a few excuses, but honestly most were reasonable. One being that the other boy refused to come and do a test as well. I found out that he, 17, already has a child with another girl in that town who he has also refused to do a test for. The other girl was contacted by Bree and willing to DNA her baby, who is only 5 months old, to see if they are siblings. Our DNA test came back as expected yesterday. Ollie is not the father. We don't know about the other results, if they are back, or if they were positive, or if they were even done. Ollie and Bree have drifted since last month. He is focusing on school and sports, has a new girlfriend, which we did not appreciate at first. He had hidden it until his therapist spoke to us all about it. He showed his friends the test results and hoped it would get back to their parents too, but it seems his reputation has been tainted regardless. Bree moved out of town 3 weeks after the baby was born. Unsure where to exactly, but she's living with a friend and her mom in her town. Her mother and stepfather kicked her out apparently, and her biological father does not have stable housing for children. What a storm this has been. Ollie turned 16 this month, and I'm hoping this is all behind us now for good. And that is all the stories I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. It would really help me out, and stay tuned for the next video. See you guys later.